Hey everyone, welcome to the Elite Strength Podcast. This episode, my guest is Ben Scott, entrepreneur, powerlifter, and online coach. I really enjoyed this conversation because we ended up getting into the weeds a little bit about online coaching and the best ways to get the results that you and your clients are looking for, regardless of what they are or where they are. So here we are. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did.
Nutrition, lifestyle, and PED education. This is the Elite Strength Podcast with Aaron Scoffey.
So welcome back to episode 2 of the Elite Strength Podcast with one of my favorite humans, Mr. Ben Scott.
What's up?
Benny boy, tell me about yourself. I know about you, but tell the people about you. What do you do? What do you like? What don't you like? What food do you like? I know you like coffee.
I do like coffee, and I am sufficiently caffeinated.
Yeah, so. I've had 4 shots, so I'm like this at the moment, so we're good.
Yeah, I was actually just looking for some Coke Zero because I was like, I need just a touch more caffeine, but I don't want a full coffee. So my name's Ben. I'm the founder and managing director of STC Fit and STC Fit Learning, as well as being an online strength and body composition coach. Was a competitive powerlifter. I don't know if I can still say I am. I'm having a little bit of time off from that at the moment, but as of 3 weeks ago, I stopped doing a competitive powerlifter.
COVID will do that to a lot of people.
Well, yeah, definitely. Just a fucking gym nerd is probably the best way to explain what I do with my training. Started out with like super skinny kid looking to get jacked, found strength training. That was fun. Did that for like 5 years. Now I kind of want to get a little bit shredded and maybe be able to do some athletic things as well. Be able to put my shoes on and all of that kind of behavior. What do I like? I like food. I like steak. Yeah. I like coffee. I like my dog.
Do you like my fiance?
I like Aaron.
I'll take it. I'm Aaron, by the way, guys. Like,
it's a pretty short list. That pretty much sums up my life. I'm going to take up golf, so I'm going to be one of those people.
Yeah, cool. So we've definitely moved into the 30s.
Yeah, it was like, do I buy a smoker? I have a gardener that does my grass, so that wasn't it. And then I think, golf was the third one on the list. Like, let's do that.
Didn't want to make your own veggie patch or something in the backyard?
Amy started that. It's not for me.
Totally. So tell us a little bit about STC. What's going on there? What do you do there? What is it?
Yeah, good question. So STC Fit has been around. Essentially, that's what I started my own coaching business under 10 years ago. Yes, 10 years ago in November. It's always been a coaching business. So obviously started off with myself, and then after about 4 or 5 years hooked up with Jason Galea and my old man as well, and sort of created a partnership. We had another director back then as well, and then started to branch out in terms of what we were doing. Early days of like online, starting to kind of navigate that market and figure out how it worked while still working in big box gyms, doing 4 bazillion face-to-face sessions.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it was an unsuccessful business face-to-face, right? You guys both, all 3 of you, had quite a few clients from memory.
Yeah. So I think Dad's still got a pretty full book on top of all the business side that he runs for us. Jason's still doing some, and I still do a little bit here and there as well. So in terms of the company now, we have 9 PTs across the board, or 9, I guess, staff in different roles. 5 primarily doing coaching, and then a couple in education, media, admin, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, currently we're looking after about 120 clients across the board, and constantly growing. We've got a few new girls on that are growing their books as well. So nice. That's, I guess, where we are now, primarily online these days. We were sort of 60-40 pre-COVID, like face-to-face to online. And obviously the switch to online happened during COVID. And now I was going to say, everyone's sort of like,
Yeah, well, was it COVID that made you go online? Because I feel like before even COVID, you guys were starting to transition more online. Like you did like have a lot of face to face, and that's I guess how you and me met. Like it was face to face, but like was it COVID that spurred the online, or was it you guys were already implementing online and it just so happened COVID came and it's just like, well, we got nothing else to do online.
Yeah, so I guess being like managing director, I'm the vision guy of the company. Like, where are we going?
Yeah.
So early on, I was like, how do we make this online thing work? So over probably 3 years, I just started treating my face-to-face clients like they were online. So when we trained, we just trained. Check-ins, video assessments, all that shit was done in a check-in process. And then that allowed us to kind of build our models and stuff throughout there. And then June, 2 years ago today, so a year before COVID really kicked off, I moved online full time. And then we had a system that it was working. I had a full book. Everything was kind of kicking around. We got to spend a month on the Gold Coast, living the online coach life, which was mad.
Good times.
And then, obviously COVID hit and was like, okay, we all need to do this and we all need to do it pretty quick. And it's particularly looking back now that it's been 18 months, that was a pretty good call at the time.
Well, did you find your systems change dramatically from initially going online to then COVID hitting, and then it's kind of like you didn't have a choice? Like a lot of, I think, PTs and businesses and online coaches, especially probably during that COVID time, they didn't have a choice. They just went, fuck it, online, here we go. But they wouldn't have had that back end developed for online, because even though probably the back end for face-to-face and online being similar are still different.
Yeah, I think that caught a lot of people out. And I think it was part of, we actually grew during those the 10 months of lockdown we had here last year. And I think that's why, like, we had the systems in place. So instead of spending all our time on that, we're able just to create content and like reach the people that still had goals, but could have had to train at home or intermittently in the gym or whatever. So I think that helped us out a lot. Simultaneously to that, we were obviously educating and like having PTs that were used to working face to face definitely experienced what you said. Like, what the fuck do we do now?
Yeah, I was going to say, how did your PTs
have
go?
A conversation.
Well, how did your PTs go from being, in like, so I know like yourself, Jace, it's like you were mostly, or like online anyway, give or take. Like I know Jace was still enjoying his face to face, which he's a weirdo in that act. Like, let's be real, like that's just weird. No one likes people, but like yourself already sort of being online, but having those PTs, like those new ones that you probably had and sort of fostered through, like you created the systems, and like, yourself, Jace, your dad, like had already created the systems for online. How did they adapt moving to online? Like they didn't have a choice either way, but how did they
go? I think so the two that probably stood out at the time was Nat, who's still with us, and Amy, who's moved on to do her own thing now. They probably grew the quickest and responded the best. And they did really well at implementing the systems. I think what might have been the main challenge for them, not so much like for Amy, because she might be a bit more like us and doesn't mind just staying home. But it was those extroverted coaches that liked being in the gym and interacting with people. And it was like, that was gone. It's like, fuck, this is like, I just stay by myself. But in terms of, implementing the systems, I think the skill set improved really quickly. One of the biggest challenges is obviously the reduction in the amount of communication that you can have with the client. Like a check-in only gives you so much. Like you've got a 30-minute session with someone, particularly if it's 2-3 times a week, you get a lot of information out of someone in that time.
For sure. You end up being a counselor.
A check-in's more like assess data, you've got some interaction, and then you've got videos. And it's like you need to create an outcome for this person off the back of that. So to their credit, everyone adapted really quickly, and the feedback from the clients was great. So
I mean, that's cool, man. It's like, I know a lot of people, like, because you're like, I'm familiar with your business, so it's kind of like we're trying to get everyone else that's listening, I guess, familiar with your business. So from like an STC standpoint, courses and mentorships and all that sort of stuff, like now with COVID, or I guess since COVID happened, it gave you a lot more time to create content, courses, mentorships and stuff. For new PTs, was most of it or any of it really directed at PTs in this situation? I guess like COVID created this weird situation where we all had to go online. Do you have courses and stuff specific to online coaching versus face-to-face? Is it more generic? Is it, what I mean? Like, is it a tailored type of course that will help coaches get that result for online clientele and like being able to build a book online and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I guess it's important to separate. So STC Fit is like our to client business. So coaching, we do education on that side as well. And that seems to be something that a lot of people want post-COVID, is actually to learn, how do I eat, train, move, program and stuff for myself? Because it's so intermittent. The face-to-face PT model is a bit maybe I'll do that. But the mentorships and stuff that you're referencing obviously was the STC Fit Learning side of the business. So that's been running 5 years. And that started off with a mentorship program that was in-house. So we brought coaches in, they worked under our brand, obviously took a commission on what they did, and they got all the education that we could possibly produce. Over time, we realized that we generated something that could be a pretty good product. So we started to evolve that into what we have now, which is basically currently it's a 2-tier model. So 1K PT is how to make your first $1,000. Cool. And like the basic sort of mistakes that you'll make. And it's interesting when you say, like, do we have anything specific for online or like to deal with COVID? And I'm really grateful that we did this. We were so successful during that time period because we just had shit in place that turned out to work for COVID that most coaches didn't. So it was like, how do you take 4 weeks holiday? If you can take 4 weeks holiday and get paid, then you can have a 4-week lockdown and get paid.
Yeah, so for sure. The same principle,
Yeah, client agreements, direct debits, like communication with clients, setting expectations, all of that shit. Trainers didn't have it because it was like, well, I'll be here next week, it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden next week wasn't there. So of course, teaching that obviously enabled people. Like we've just obviously had a lockdown here through Melbourne. The guys that are in our courses now are like, I've maintained 95% of my income through this whole, whatever it was, 5 weeks this time around. So definitely helped with that stage. So 1K PT is essentially learn to set up a business, learn to get new clients, and learn to communicate with them so you can get results.
Of course. Cool.
That'll we know the survival rate of a personal trainer is shit. It's like 6 months, which is really 3 months because you have to give 3 months notice to leave.
100%.
So that is to prevent that happening.
Yeah, for sure.
The next step from there for us is the Standout PT course, which is a 24-week program designed to have people running businesses versus the way we like to explain it is like being a casual employee to your clients.
Yes.
So if you're a casual employee during COVID, you're screwed. Like no one has to pay you. Hopefully the government gives you some money. If you're a sole trader, that's even more sketchy. If the client doesn't show up, you don't get paid, that kind of thing. We don't want that. We want to have an environment where clients are coming to you. They know what you do. You have a specific service. Your mindset's based around building something long-term. So most personal trainers come into the industry 18, 19, 20, maybe early 20s. I don't know what the fuck they're doing next week, 3 years from now. So putting that together and starting to think like, what is this business? What's it going to do? Who's it going to help? And how is it going to help me?
So would you say that like the 1K PT course is more tailored for those PTs that are just sort of fresh out the course? Because we know the course doesn't really offer overly much when it comes to business. I think they might make you do a business plan now, which is completely interesting and new. I don't remember ever having to do that, but would you say that that's what that's tailored for? And then obviously once you run through that 1K, it's just, hey, like if you want the next step, this is what it is. That's that progression model in place.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you come out of your Cert 4 and the reason everyone fails is they don't know those fundamental things. Yeah. And they leave because they're not making any money. So it's unfortunate. And I'd love to have a model where it's like, let's sit down and teach you. And this is what people try to do. Let's teach you advanced programming, advanced movement, advanced nutrition, advanced coaching language, all of that shit before you started. But we don't have that opportunity right now. So you walk into a gym and you've got 12 weeks before $300 a week starts coming out of your bank account. Yeah. So you need a client book to get some outcomes. Yeah. Look, we taught the Cert 4 for 3 years, and I understand the like certificate comes out of a cereal box thing. I get it. Yeah. If you took the Australian diet guidelines, at least we taught for ARPT, their programming model wasn't shit.
Yeah.
It's not fucking earth shattering, but it's not shit.
It's enough.
So if you took those two things and just delivered them to people, you would get some results.
Yeah.
If you then add a layer of, I know how to communicate with people, I have basic business systems in place, and I can sell, you will be successful to the point of however hard you want to drive that. The longer you do it, the more experience you get, the more you'll learn. We're fortunate enough in 2021 that you don't have to now learn it all by yourself, like you and I did.
Yeah.
You have access to other shit that allows you to progress those technical proficiency skills much faster. And then we worry about like marketing and being like elite. Like most personal trainers are coming into and you did the same thing, like with RBT background and stuff. It's like, I was fucking trained mums, man.
Yeah.
Like how important was volume load and strength curves and all of that for them? It's like, I use it with them now because it's easy, but fuck, like get them eating better, get them moving consistently, progressive overload. Hey, they're probably going to lose some fat and be happy.
Yeah, right. It's like the difference between just improvement of like life quality versus actually having like a very specific goal that's probably a bit more athletic. And it's like it's a different type of clientele, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this too. So something that we get heaps is like, I just don't think I'm working with the right people right now, because like people they're not adherent to their macros, they're not adherent to their program or whatever. And because I know you work with a lot of athletes as well, or at least people that are driven.
Yeah,
I know
fairly driven.
I've been one of your clients who's not adherent and doesn't check in.
We just have a different version of our check-in. It's okay.
Yeah, I personally don't see that much difference in terms of like time neurosis. Like just being like, I need this, in working with someone who's brand new and working with primarily athletes, or at least people that have like their training is say top 3 priorities in their life. Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm lucky that the clientele now, that I'm at a point where I only work with very specific clientele, more so those that do, like you said, have those goals, whether it be sort of a weight class sport, strength outcome sport, or like body composition. So it's like their goal is significant to them, that they will be adherent or have a better chance of being adherent. But I have worked with Gen Pop, and it's like I do get every now and then some Gen Pop clients, and it's like I've got one that's actually been with me for a year, and he's finishing up, and he's just like, man, I've learned so much. Like I am more than confident to carry this, and it's kind of the point. Like I'm here to educate you, so I don't want to coach you for 15 years. Like it'd be awesome, great for my bank, but I don't want to do that. I want to teach you so that you can go be self-sufficient, and then even pass on some basics to, if you have kids, if you have family, like that's sort of the point of us as coaches, right? To make sure that your health is number one. And that's not just sort of like your physical health. It's also like your mental health and your, the health of your education, in terms of you need to be able to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
So I get it. But at the same time, I think like, I know you probably work with a lot. You work with a different clientele. Like I work with a very specific clientele. It's like, I like, we've had this conversation. I like robots. It's like, I love robots. Like, yes, give me a client that just does what they're told. And then if there's a problem, then it's like, fuck, okay, sweet. We can sort this shit out, because we have a problem that wouldn't normally occur. But I wouldn't be able to probably brainstorm and fix a lot of those issues if I hadn't previously worked with Gen Pop.
Yeah. And that's where it is. Hey, it's like, I think the misconception is once I am highly skilled, I'll work with highly motivated people and I won't have to coach. And it's like, in my experience, like even like your guys that are adherent, right? It's like, hey, can we do this comp in like 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Hey, can we get fucking this result in this time? Do you think it's time to cut? Do you think maybe I should change my stance on my squat? Do you think it's like, fuck bro, just follow the plan. So good.
Like I get those even at advanced athletes. It's like
exactly. And
they don't change.
I think that's where the breakdown is. Like, I'm just not working with the right people. It's like if you can work with a Gen Pop, I think that skill set actually makes you better at working with athletes. But so don't imagine that when you start working with highly motivated people that the questions are going to get less, because they don't.
No, if anything, they probably get more, because it's like you work with Gen Pop. It's like, okay, we're just going to improve your quality of movement. We're just going to do this, and it's very easy, very simple, very basic. Let's get you comfortable. Let's get your food semi-decent. Oh, look, you lost 3 kilos. Yes. But then it's like you have this, advanced client. So if I move my pinky from here to here on my bench press, it's going to make me do this. So it's like, bruh, just bench like you've been benching the entire time. That hasn't changed. You bench 200 kilos. Why are you changing it? If it isn't broken, why fix it?
100%.
I'm with you. You get more questions. I find I get more questions with advanced athletes. The more advanced they are, because the more confident they have in their ability to be able to change something. And it's kind of like, why are you changing it? It's like, you might be good at identifying the problem. And sometimes I get one that's like, what if I do this? Yeah, both. Do it. I like it. Or do it. Why? You just made it worse.
But coming back to your question, like, does the stuff we have specifically for building online or face-to-face or whatever, the principles are the same across the board, just the execution slightly different. I think the methodology that we teach in terms of even like marketing and stuff is the same. It's like if you're advertising for face-to-face, it'd be local. If you're advertising online, it'd be broad. That's the only real change in terms of the systems. I think what we have at this stage, like with Standout PT and the 1K PT stuff, what we focus on right now is the environment that we're in and who we tend to attract and work with, because we are fucking nerds, are other people who are invested in being good. They want to be technically proficient, good coaches. The trap that they fall into is they think if I get really good at programming, everything else will take care of itself. I've known some fucking smart people that were broke.
That's totally fair, man.
So it's like, okay, what's the other stuff that only takes 12 weeks to 6 months to put in place, get it right and execute it? You never have to think about it again. You just tweak things, like this is working well, this isn't, tweak it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every 6 months. It's done, it's in place. And then you have total power of how long you stay in the industry for. And that's probably what hurts me the most, is when I see a good, particularly someone who, what we would say like good trainer, like pursuing extra knowledge, gives a shit about their clients,
doing all the right stuff. And
it's like they're 25, or they start, they don't make it because they don't make enough money, or they stay in, they're spinning their wheels, they're not really progressing. They get to like mid to late 20s, like can't get a house, can't get a car, not really making enough money. I'm supposed to be an adult. Fuck, I'll go get a real job. There's lots of bunny ears for the ear people. This will go on YouTube. So it's like, I'm going to go get a real job that's going to secure my income. It's like part of what we try and do by addressing the mindset, the business model, the service, and the sales side of things is you can have security within your own business.
Yes. And that's
really what it's about. Essentially.
So for those that don't actually know, I did the Standout PT course and highly recommend it. It helped me. I think I went from like 25 to 30 online clients to like 50. I went to a full book. So for me, 50 was a full book. I didn't want any more because I don't like people, but that's just me personally. So definitely highly recommend. Well, I mean, it worked. It wasn't very fucking difficult to implement. It's just like, do this and do this and do this. It's like, okay. Like do this and this could work. So, okay. What's the worst?
And you're like, and I don't, we're friends, so I know that you'll take this the right way. It's like, if you look at the technical skill set you had when we met and what you were doing with that technical skill set, like you're way too advanced to just be working with Gen Pop people.
I appreciate it.
It was obviously working and servicing a need that was there for you and you enjoyed it. And we'd had conversations and stuff about that on the way through. But it's like, look at where things are now just because we took care of those little things. Put that system in place. It's like, now you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
If you want to stay
freedom,
if you want to go stay and do that model, awesome. But you can choose now. It's not based on where's my income, where's my security, I need a backup or whatever. It's like, hey, what do you want to do? What gets you out of bed every fucking day? Let's do that.
Sounds very good. So moving on from the business stuff, because, that's boring. No one wants to listen to that. Let's talk about you as a coach. So what is your ideal client? Who do you like to coach?
Okay. So I train people who want to lift, look, and feel strong as fuck. That's my little tagline. Pretty
straightforward. I like that. And in terms of like your actual coaching, do you prefer online or do you prefer face-to-face? This would be interesting.
Definitely online. I enjoy I enjoy face-to-face sessions that aren't like a regular PT thing.
Yeah, more like a tech type session, or
yeah, like once I'm in a position where it's like open your program, do the same workout, see you next week.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's not that fulfilling for me anymore.
Yeah,
particularly because the guys I work with all know how to train.
Yeah.
If someone comes to me and is like, hey, I'm having trouble with these lifts, come in, let's have a look. Like that shit sets me alight. It's heaps of fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I'm sort of the same. It's I've got a couple of like PTs and specialty clients, but then I have a few powerlifters that always come in for a tech session. Like I wanted to get rid of my squat rack, and then literally all these powerlifters are like, "Oh, can you fix my bench? Can you fix my squat?" It's like, for fuck's sake, yes, I probably can, but I don't want to. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny that I'm in a similar position because I think we're quite similar in that aspect. It's like I prefer online, but those tech sessions, it's like they're the things that I enjoy the most. So it's like working with an athlete or a client. It's just like, okay, we need to fix something very specific versus being very generic.
Yeah, even when I finished up at Good Life, I trialed this model for a bit where I was just on the floor for about a 4-hour window or 3-hour window. It was 2 90-minute blocks. So all of my clients could come in during that time and I would get around and service whatever they were doing. That was fucking awesome fun. So it was like, if you were squatting a 3, you had my attention. Yeah, if you were doing bicep curls, it was probably like me leaning from the other side of the room, like, hey, fucking straighten your elbow. Like, I don't need to stand there and count your reps for you. So that was really fun. So I think like we obviously have plans for a facility down the track. That's something I'd probably like to go back to. It's just like, I'm in the powerlifting section on this day at this time. If anyone's there, I'm happy to help with tech and shit. Yeah. Like that is fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of the thing where like powerlifting gyms where it was kind of cool, even though if you're training, like you're a coach and you're sort of helping people, right? I guess that's what we do as coaches. We just help people. Like it's intuitive.
Yeah. And it's like, what did we do when we were just training? It was like 6 of us, I think 4 or 5 of which were PTs by trade. Yeah. Just like, hey, change this, try this, give each other shit and train for 2 hours that turned into 3. It's like, okay, so this is what we do when we're not getting paid for it. So maybe we could help other people with this.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And I would have stuck to that. It's just probably from a STC Fit overall vision thing wasn't the best use of my time. It had nothing to do with falling out of love of it. It was just like, there's other stuff that I need to put my time towards right now.
Yeah, that's completely fair, man. In terms of like what you sort of enjoy most now about your coaching and like your content creation and, you know, the business that you're now currently running, like what is it that you enjoy doing most? Because it's like, I know like you do one thing, Jace does another, you know, you've got Nat doing something, you've got Tam doing something, you know, your dad does something. Like, what is it that you enjoy versus like what you're doing? Because I know you're pushing your business and, you know, your programs and all that sort of stuff. But like, you know, conversing with you in the background, obviously, like I know that you enjoy coaching and writing content for coaching more so than business. So
so I think what I enjoy the most in life, so be that training, the business stuff we do, anything is like, it's like figuring shit out. I'm just really curious about lots of shit. So it was like the powerlifting side of things was like, I think I kind of know how to do this now. Not that you ever fucking completely have it. And there's still worlds that I can learn and will continue to learn, but it's like, hey, kind of want to go try this thing and see how this sort of works. And then like looking at, for example, my most recent kind of post series has been like programming considerations for getting stronger. Like what are the 5 kind of primary things? So I'm not willing to just go like, oh, well, you know, you do 3s 10 weeks out and then you do singles and then you compete and then you start at 8s and you go again. It's like, why? What's actually happening? And then if I know what's happening, how can I manipulate that sequence? And most of the time it actually boils down into something really fucking simple, but it's fun learning the system and the model. Yeah.
And trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I think if like you said, we have lots of different people in our business with lots of different skill sets. And I did a podcast with Nick Weir as well, and similar conversations. Like I think my primary skill set is taking a shitload of information, pulling it down into what matters, creating a model that is proactive but allows you to be reactive in any situation. So, and I think that's what a lot of coaches and athletes across the board miss. This stuff's just not, all models are wrong. Some of them are useful. If you have a model, you at least have data. Most people, I think, are missing that data element to go back and go, did X got Y? Did X 0.2 got Y 0.7? That math doesn't add up. How do I make this work consistently?
It's similar to like the philosophy of Bruce Lee, trying to take the best of everything, because nothing's perfect, and try and make it as perfect as possible for you and, you know, your goal and your clientele and your systems, I guess.
Exactly. And like, be aware of the limitations of your systems too.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So I guess in terms of limitations, what have you found that's been, I guess, you struggle with when it comes to this sort of line of thinking? And
one I've been playing with a lot lately is the percentage load versus like perceived effort prescription. So we use rep and reserve. And like coming into this prep myself lately, I was working with Will Crozier at the time, was like the interpretation of what RPE meant pre-peak into peak, or like once you hit singles, it's different.
Very much so.
And I don't like that. And it's like, that's
so
totally something we tried with our guys was we went RIR all the way in until the peak, and then we changed to RPE, and the RPE wasn't rep scheme based. It was like, how close are you to dying? And we tried that. So it's like, okay, let's see how this works. Because thinking about like primarily who I work with is people that have gone to the gym, they know a little bit what they're doing. They want to do a novice comp, they want to do a photo shoot, they want to just be a superhero, like whatever, look hot, naked, and be strong.
Like a beginner to intermediate almost type.
Gym
goal.
That's I guess where my skill set is. Telling that person that, hey, RPE means this week, and RPE means that next week. It's like, fucking what? Like that. What do you mean? So it's like, how do we systemize that? So that's one that I've been playing with lately. It's been really fun.
And how have you found it?
It worked really well.
Yeah.
I think the girls pushed much further than I think they had in the past using. So for example, my best double deadlift is something like 230, maybe 240. And I pulled, actually it's closer to 220, and I pulled 260 for a single. In 265 on the day. So it's like that gap. What's a one rep in reserve? It's like, I don't know, 235. 30 kilos off where I need to be. So I think a lot of the girls found similar, and they were able to stretch their top lifts during their programming a lot easier. And then I think if we look from an outcome standpoint, what did we have? 8 lifters. And I think we had 7 PB totals.
Beautiful.
And we had 3-week lockdown, 6 weeks.
Like during all the stupid shit that happened as well, right?
So it's kind of like, hey, that's pretty good data for me to say that it worked. The feedback from the clients was good. Their recovery was good. The only thing I noticed was there probably need to be a little bit of a change in the deload structure because they were pushing harder than they had in the past.
And that's totally fair. So taking a more reactive, or taking maybe even a more proactive deload.
So like inside the ranges of, you talk about like 12 to 14 days for your deadlift, and like 8 to 10 for squat, and 5 to 7 for bench or whatever. Training mostly like women under 70 kilos who are intermediates, they usually stuck to those lower numbers, like the closer to comp more confidence, closer, like everything sort of worked with that. Next time around, I think I'll probably drive them back a little bit more, because there's a couple of girls that sort of looked a bit tired on the day.
Yeah, cool, man. I like it. You know, my personal problem with RPE, I fucking hate it. But anyway,
look, man, I think it's like whatever you get first exposure to,
Yeah,
it's really hard to break away from that. And like I got RP before I learned percentage loading. I got taught percentage loading at this course, and the course wasn't very good. And I was like, it's fucking stupid.
Dude, totally fair, man. You're not wrong. I mean, like we always say, there's so many ways to skin a cat, which is still such a weird saying, but it's the same way. There's so many different ways to get an outcome. As long as the client's happy and gets the result, like who really cares, right? It's like right strategy for the right person at the right time.
And I think like the model we use now is both. So we use an algorithm to predict what your weight should be at this rep and reserve. Do a set there, assess the RIR,
see how it feels.
Go up or down, whatever you need.
Pretty straightforward, right? It's like try it, see how it feels.
Did your volume load go up this week? Yes, good.
Do it again next week.
Yeah,
man. So with your like article writing and stuff, so I don't know if many people actually know, or like you had a whole series of articles, I think at the start of last year from memory. I can't even remember what year we were in anymore. How did you find writing articles? I guess it's something that not overly many coaches sort of do, especially on the more technical side of things. How was that for you, that experience?
I loved it. The reason we went down that road was obviously COVID, like exposure. Prior to that, I've always been pretty much consistently writing because we had trainers that we needed to teach. So instead of posting an article, it was a written document that we then presented. Which is probably why I've been quiet lately, because I've been writing courses instead. But they are coming back, I promise. But they might come back as YouTube videos this time instead.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. So look, I think for any coaches out there that want to get a grasp on their knowledge, try writing it down in a way that tells someone else how to do it. Because in the process of doing that, you find all these things that are like, so why do you do that? You're like, I don't know. Fuck, I probably should have a reason for doing that. And then go find out. So the RPE versus percentage loading article that I wrote, which is my first one, it was literally like, all right, I'm on the rep and reserve bandwagon. I've never programmed with percentage loading. I don't understand it that well. I've just stayed in my own lane because I've gotten results with it all the time.
Of course.
So let's do a comparison. And then I get to stuff and be like, fuck, I don't really know. So I have to go and find out and learn about it and then come back and be like, okay, put that together. So I think anyone who wants to put any kind of methodology together, or there becomes a time in your career as a coach that you need to develop your own models.
Yes, agreed.
Using someone else's training model will expire. You should be learning from everybody else's for a time, and then you start to create your own.
Create your own and develop your own system.
So you and I follow very, very similar principles and thoughts when we write programs, when we do nutrition. Jason and I get it all the time. I'll give my clients a program that Jace wrote, for a specific outcome, and they'll be like, "Did Jace write this?" I'm like, how'd you know? It's like just looks like Jason. It's like the art form of programming's in it.
For sure.
So you start to put your own model together, means you understand it better, means you back it better. You can actually review it. What in there was just like shit that some guy told you 10 years ago that you still thought was true that you never thought to check. Those kind of things start to come out inside that. So valuable in my opinion.
Yeah, man, that makes total sense. Now, when it comes to, I guess, your favorite thing to like write about, talk about when it comes to coaching, like what is it that you enjoy most? Like, again, you have so many facets, like you talk about your business and that sort of stuff. We're talking about like RPE, RIR type scenario. Like if you had your ideal situation, what would you want to talk about or like write about? You know, what makes you happy and what makes you sort of you? Like if you could sort of break that down.
Fuck, it probably depends what day you ask me.
Yeah, well, I mean, like right now, for example, if you wanted to write, or if you're currently writing about something, like what is it that you're writing about or want to write about?
So the next step. So I spent probably 3 years putting together my programming model. And I will fucking talk with enough coffee. We'll talk for 3 days about that. I fucking love it. So program is probably the thing and all the nuances that come with that. I think the next step for me is trying to create a systemized model of exercise selection for strength training.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
It's hard. It's already hard and it's only in my head. So I've got 2 projects that I've got to finish. So our Be Bulletproof, which is our to client education, and then another like back-end businessy thing. And then I'm going to start working on that. So the intent will be, so where I'm at with it so far is how to assess movement, because you need to know that first. Then what type of breakdowns happen in lifts. So I've put them into 3 categories. You've got a strength breakdown, a skill breakdown, and then a function breakdown. Obviously function typically is refer out, skill and strength we can typically fix. Okay, what was the skill breakdown? Where did it break down? What exercise can we put in to continue to train that skill? Do we need to progress or regress the exercise? What other stuff can we do in the program to facilitate that skill improvement? Strength breakdown, same principle. And then how do we drag that into the programming model that exists? And then it's like, I have a super deliberate way of exercise selection, because I think, and I've done it in the past, it's like, I just need a bench press variation. So I'll put a bench press variation in there, not necessarily like, what is the best bench press variation I could put in for this person based on how they move?
I get you.
So I think that would be super valuable for everyone. And as much as for me to actually just go through the process of putting that into a logical sequence that you can follow.
Yeah, totally fair. That'd be very, very tricky, I imagine.
It's going to be a big whiteboard. That's for fucking sure.
You're gonna just have a wall that's a whiteboard, and it's just going to be going across the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess what we'll do is we'll finish up, but first and foremost, where can we find you?
So for myself, it's at Ben Scott STC. The business ones are at STC Fit and at STCfit _learning.
Yes, all on the gram.
The best ones. Yeah. And the websites are the same. So STCfit.com and STCfitlearning.com. That's where all the articles, links to the podcast, all of that are as well.
And to finish, so 3 questions. 1 question, 3 people that you follow that have probably at the current time, or the current moment, have the biggest sort of influence on you as a person, whether it's you coaching, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your business, or all 3 or none of them. Like, who are the 3 that you follow that you like the most or have the most influence on you?
Yeah, I know. Fucking question ever.
I know.
My friends
on Instagram, by the way.
My friends.
You just said you didn't have friends. Like, that doesn't count.
Yeah. So,
like, what 3 people would you recommend? I guess other people then to follow for assistance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, probably Marcus Rattel. Jordan's still putting out some good stuff. Jordan Shallow, Dean McKillop, Will Crozier, and Next Space in general.
Yep.
And elite strength coach Jason.
You don't have to put me in there. I don't put out any good content. So
Stop it.
I just rant about belt squats, but it's fine.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, true. All right, man. Thank you for coming on, and thank you to the listeners. Hopefully there's a couple of you.
Thank you, bro. And congratulations on the podcast launch. I know you'll get all uncomfortable because I'm being nice, but it's been really awesome to see, obviously, the progress for you with the content you're putting out, the podcast. It's really exciting, man.
Well, I wouldn't have been doing it without the Standout PT course. So thank you.
There's a plug.
Fucking everyone do it. Shut up. But if they do, use code ESC for a 10% discount. Thanks, man.
Thanks, bro.
See you, man.